Greeting viewers, today our guest is a distinguished figure whose life story has been deeply intertwined with many of the most defining chapters of modern Ethiopian history. Professor Brahanu is an economist, academic and a seasoned political leader who has played a prominent role in Ethiopia's public life for over 4 decades. Having completed his advanced studies in economics abroad, he built a distinguished academic career teaching at universities in both the United States and here in Ethiopia. He has also contributed significantly to economic policy discourses, including working with the United Nations Economic Commission (ECA) for Africa. His political journey placed him at the forefront of Ethiopia's democratic struggle following the historic 2005 general elections, and he was also imprisoned and then continued his opposition activities from exile as a leader of the Gunboat 7 opposition movement, as we all know. And now was sentenced to death in absentia by the EPRDF government. Then he returned to Ethiopia in 2018 following major political reforms initiated by Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. And now today he serves as the Minister of Education of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia and continues to play a significant role in the country's political and intellectual landscape. Professor Brahanu, welcome to our studio, and we're very honored to have you right here today.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
Before I dive into my very critical questions, I'd like to start first about your personal experience. So your life has positioned you at different roles. Academically, you are a political activist, then you're imprisoned, you've also been exiled, and now currently you're working as a minister of the current government. Even at my time, there were times where we used to hear your name as one of the most iconic politicians across the country. And then with the current situation going on, there was a time where you were highly criticized, questioned, and doubted based on your current role as the Minister of Education. So through all these ups and downs and through that magnificent life that you have held, what are your major things that you've learned from your life and the things that you actually think were wrong that you want to share us today? You being the Minister of Education currently, do you think Africans as Africa should go back and search civilizations back to their fathers and grandfathers' civilization and dig out what has been buried? Or are we supposed to cop up with the world that is now currently? Are we supposed to be running to the front, or do we need to stand a little bit, calm down?
I don't think human civilization can go back. Neither can we as Africans. It is important that we have a memory so that we are not oppressed by the weight of history, what has happened to us, what has happened to the erosion of our civilizations and things of that sort, and concentrate on how we bring back the old civilization. We are part of human civilization. Knowledge has expanded. Whether fairly or not, that's another thing. But science has significantly expanded. Technology has significantly expanded. So we are not going to reinvent the wheel from where we were. What we need is a psychological aspect that we are not some inherently weak or inherently backward people. We have a history where we have been moving along other civilizations in the past. Somewhere that has been curtailed. It is to a certain degree our doing, but it's also the change in the international environment. Since the dominance of Western civilization, that gap between societies has expanded significantly. And now the issue is, how do we narrow this gap? The knowledge is available. We don't have to start from zero. We start from the knowledge that is available to all human beings and build it with some intentionality about moving forward. Not to just simply copy forever, but expand our knowledge base in such a way that we are also going to be part of the creators of new technologies and new knowledge and things of that. That's what takes us to the value of education, which I'm sure we are going to come to. But
yes, definitely.
To answer, and it's a very important question that you asked in terms of, when you look at some of the debates, this anger about the last 400, 500 years of African history and our history, the anger that we, we feel that we are moving but going nowhere, just, moving in the same steps. Understanding of why that is. It's our political system, it's our economic system. Some part of our cultural tradition also might have contributed to all this. Some also psychological damage that is done to us through this more contemporary civilizations, the racism, the ideas that we as Africans are not capable, are not up to what is required. We have gone through that, and part of this anger have led some to say, no, we have to go back to our tradition and things of that sort. My argument is a bit different. It's not to go back to that tradition. It is to actually have that memory and the power that gives you in terms of your ability. You can do this. There is nothing inherently wrong with you. There is nothing inherently wrong with our societies other than the way we organize our societies, the way we move forward, the way we understand knowledge. All that is now coming together in the sense that we have to not resist any change or human knowledge in general, but to adopt human knowledge wherever they come from and use it to improve our societies, to improve the future of our children, and to have a place, a really meaningful, equal place with the rest of humanity. At the end of the day, in my view, the question is not just about us, not just about Africans. The crisis that we are observing now in the world also forces us to think ourselves much more deeply as human beings, because it's human civilization that is now being questioned in some quarter. So I think we have to be more pragmatic, more practical, more intentional in terms of how we move forward rather than react.
So if you say going back is not going to be an option, that we can definitely agree on, especially on the points that you have raised. But do you think we do have the ability, we have the time, and we have the potential to cope up with the rest of the world? The reason why I'm actually picking this line up is because the system in which the world was actually built up has already given Africa a place. And that the system is not allowing us to cope up with them. We can't be on the same level as they are in, because that's how they have built the system. It might be through colonization, it might be through the political crisis that we're going, the governments, and even in human history. For me personally, and I think a lot of majority of Yodas, especially this century Yodas, would agree with me that human history actually goes backwards. What is the new thing that we have invented, actually, that changed the perception of the world? Elaborate on that, please.
That's a very interesting question in the sense that, if you look at history, long history, the most of the civilizational struggle was between the East and the West, right? Go back to thousands of years. The contribution that, say, for example, the Persian Empire, before the emergence of the Western Empire, or the Chinese Empire at that time, was much more developed than, for example, the West. The West, essentially, the dominance of the West started, depending upon who you ask, around 460 AD. Before that, it was, one civilization comes and another one was, but it was also all civilizations borrow from the civilizations before them. That's why, historians that were studying that period would argue that Western civilization is not just Western. Western civilization has borrowed so much from the Middle Eastern civilization, the Arabs and the Persians and the Chinese in the East. That's how human society evolves. There is no one civilization that's pure in the sense that has not borrowed from the civilization of other humans. We have to understand that, and we also have to understand that civilizations change. There were periods when, for example, the Eastern civilization has dominated. And then the Western, I mean, there was this tug of war in hundreds and sometimes in 1,000 years change that take place that show that some civilization that was, down for a while then picks up, and a new civilization comes up, and that old civilization come back. And this is exactly what we see actually in the 21st century too. If you look at Asia, for example, 1960, the per capita income of South Korea was the same as Ghana or Ethiopia, right? China, essentially the same. Where are they now? I mean, we are talking about 60 or 70 years, right? Now, I mean, we are talking about China as another center of another new center empire. And China didn't do this by totally going back towards the old way of doing things. It is by adapting the change that has taken place through even the dominance of Western civilization, and adapt it and move forward. But in this process, what has helped, if you ask me, is this memory of the civilization. The Chinese intellectuals have this thing that they say, the century of humiliation. After the Opium War is when China went downhill because of the pressures coming from the West. When you ask them, how did China achieve this incredible growth in such a short time, they would say, our memory, the century of humiliation. That's what I want Africans to feel. That's what I want Ethiopians to feel. That the fact that we have a memory of an older civilization does not mean to go back to it. It is to have that memory and use it so that, it gives you the psychological boost that you can do this. There is nothing inherently wrong with you. You can't think like any other human being anywhere else. It's just a matter of how we organize our society in such a way that we can be able to achieve the levels that human society has achieved, whether it's in education, in technology, in all of that. That is doable. That's doable because we have seen it in our own lifetime. I remember when China was just another third world country. I remember South Korea when it was, or most of Asia. We Africans can't do that too. There is nothing inherently wrong with us. We just have to organize our states. We just have to organize our economies in such a way that that will not provide the objectives that we want to achieve. And one more important thing. You look at the experience of China and Asia in recent years, and many people say, "Oh, they were, copying from the West," and there is nothing wrong with copying. But what is important is the concept of development that the Chinese are forwarding is not the same as the concept of development that the West is developing. Yes, technological change and things, but in terms of how they keep their own culture, how they give value to distribution than just simply economic growth. What kind of state do we need? The role of the state in economic development. All these are now emerging as experiences that we can learn from. So we should not jump into picking one or the other of these past civilizations. We should say, what is it that worked for us? What is it that we need to do in order to achieve what other countries have achieved?
I guess it's like giving space for both and filtering from each side.
Exactly.
And taking 50-50 and eliminating absolutely following something as a trend and as a hurt.
Absolutely.
We'll definitely come back on this point again too. So let me take you back through time. Your political dominance or engagement started back at the Ethiopian student movement during the time where universities were the center of political discussions. Civil awareness was very high. Majority of you were highly enlightened, and so on. So you're one of the living testimonies of that time. So we would like you to tell us what it looked like to be a student at that time, one. And the second part, we basically don't have a generalized, concrete idea of the political assumptions at that time. One might come and tell us that that was a wasteful time and an unnecessary sacrifice, and they have done nothing for the politics across the country. And the other might come and tell us that that was a very critical point in the history of Ethiopian politics. So you, as a living testimony, Professor, would you give us this general assumption of your thought of the political era at that time?
We must understand that modern Ethiopian politics started then. So that's the period. That is the period where Ethiopian politics moved from this traditional, dominated by the monarchy and the big feudal lords and things like that, to a new class of people who come and say, no, this is not the way we want to move forward. In that sense, from the basic essence of creating, for example, a political party, for us, the experience comes from that time. And that time's experience of party politics comes from the left tradition, this vanguard party tradition. So in the way that we picked, that's why I sometimes try to make a distinction between the modernization imperative of wanting the country to move forward to the more ideological imperative of taking whole stock and barrel the Marxist ideology and say we can implement this and be productive. So what I tell the new generation is a problem with that generation is the degree to which it is ideological. Its intentions were good. Its intentions were to develop the country. Its intentions were to develop a reasonably more equitable society, but also a modern society. That intention is good, and that's our aspiration now. We went wrong when the ideology dominates not only our thinking, but our practice of politics. We became extremely parochial in our views. You know, at that time, if it's not enough that you have a socialist idea or, you know, an idea that says, okay, there must be development but equity at the same time. But you have to be a specific brand. You know, you have to be a Maoist or a Stalinist or a Trotskyite. These differences within the left tradition was simply absorbed as truisms without really seriously questioning the degree to which those issues are that important for us in the Ethiopian context. That kind of dogmatism, that kind of just simply taking ideas and thinking of them as if it is a religion rather than as a living proposition how to improve society. That is our mistake and our fault and our contribution to the negative outcomes. But there were also good things. The youth at that time gives its life without question if they believe it improves the life of the society in general. It is committed, it's not selfish, it is open, it is very nationalist in the sense that it loves its country, it wants to see that country developing, it wants to contribute to that, rather than to scramble for more resources. So that is also another. And also, the search for knowledge was much better then than now, in the sense that, you know, reading was considered an important thing to do. Debates, discussions, and study groups and things of that sort, to learn more, to know not only our country but also even more our world. That yearning for knowledge, I think, is an important aspect of that time, that the youth now can actually, to a certain degree, not totally, but to a certain degree, emulate. History should be taken in the context of the period itself. It's very difficult to evaluate that period from how we think about it today. we have to take it at that time. What were they thinking? It is just in the same way as, for example, we were condemning the emperors and the old monarchy without actually seeing what were they trying to achieve. Is there something good from it? You know, the idea of, for example, having an access to the sea, something that has engaged Ethiopian emperors in the past. That was not a bad thing. That was, but even a sense of modernization. This idea that we are backward, that we need to modernize, was also, that seed was also in some of the monarchs. The thing is, they were not in a position to push it further so that we can have a developed thing. So what I am saying is, let's take history for what it is. Something that we can learn from, something that we can learn to avoid the mistakes of the past, but also to take the good things of that period and use it to drive us forward.